Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. We are going to go ahead and start with this Torah portion on this Shabbat, which is the Parashat Emor. Parashat Emor, which means, and he spoke. This Parashat talks about many things. Among these many things are the Torah calendar. But prior to that, it talks about all the things that are concern for us to know, and that's what we're going to see that pertains to all of us and ultimately pertains to our Mashiach. So let's go ahead and start. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you can obtain the latest production that we are working on. So let's start. Parashat Emor. And let's start off with chapter 21, verse 1. Ole 1 says, Yahweh said to Moshe, Emor, le'emor, which means speak to the Kohanim, the officials, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, no one shall defile himself with any dead person of his kindred. This is a direct command from Yahweh to our forefathers, especially to the Kohanim, not to touch any corpse, which means that by doing that, they will defile themselves. You have to understand this. They were in the process of going to inside the Mishkan, the tent of the meeting. In the tent of the meeting, that's what Yahweh came down, and that's what is called the most set apart. That's the most set apart, the Kadosh Kadoshim, where Yahweh will actually, his kabot, his steam will come down. That steam, that place there was set apart for those who were actually set apart for Yahweh too as well. So in previous Parashat Kedoshim, we talked about that. We talked about how the person shall the person shall be, not as far as anything, but including in this command not to touch any corpse. Now let's talk about the corpse themselves, the person who just died. Either it could be a person, or a human, or an animal. If you understand how the process of this composition, we have to understand that there is something that is called cadavering. Cadavering is the process of purification where you are rotten, in other words. And not only that, this cadavering, it starts from the moment that the person becomes inert, okay? And also you have to understand that this process of cadavering, sometimes you can smell it, and sometimes you can't smell it. So the body that is in the process, this composition becomes rotten, but also releases this thing that sticks to your body, to your clothes. You take it home. You take it to your kids, to your family. You basically take it everywhere that you go to. I'm saying your skin, okay, your flesh, and your clothes. That's one of the reasons why Yahweh said to the Kohanim, do not go to any person who's not your family. And if it's your family, make sure it is. You can go with your whatever is either your kids, your wife, any of your kids, but any other relatives, you cannot go. That's the direct command. But if it's your family, your kids, or your wife, you can go, but you're going to have to do what is called the tevilah, the immersion. Okay, that immersion becomes the process of purification. When you purify yourself, nowadays, how do we do that? We have any kindred, either family, once again, if it's your wife or anybody, we basically do this. If it's very, very important that you have to go, you can go. But if it's not as far as any kindred, the best thing to do is not to go. And the reason for it is because we still have to do immersion. We have to go through the pure process of purification. And you still have to take off your clothes before you come to the house and go straight to shower after do the immersion. Basically take an actual shower. After taking the immersion process. So all this you have to go through in order for you to come before the Creator, especially to the synagogue. So it's very important for us to remind ourselves to be mindful about these things, how the Creator talks about these things, especially the cadavering. Nowadays, let's talk about a little bit the cadavering. Cadavering is basically the process of rottenness. And if you look at the composition of that, it goes anywhere. That's one of the reasons why in hospitals today, they don't allow kids from underage to come into up to, I think, 11 or 12. I work in the medical field, and I don't see any kids unless they have to, but they go straight to the laboratory. But as far as going upstairs to see any patient, they're not allowed. And if they're sick, they have a different departments where they can actually put them. But once again, the reason why is because their immune system is very low, and they are more apt to exposed to get any disease to any adult. And the reason for it, once again, is because their immune system is very low. No wonder why they're always getting sick, right? Yes, and that's why we have to take care of them. Now, going back to the mortuary or a cemetery, also we always gives the advice to any person not to take any kids, not to take any toddlers to any of these places. I'm talking about the cemeteries or anything that is a corpse. And the reason why is because, once again, the immune system is very low and the cadavering is released. So that's one of the reasons. Now let's continue. Emor is basically the word for amar. Amar is basically a word that is strictly a command. Now, let's go over here and look at the word shamar. 22:31 of Leviticus, you will keep. The word shamar means in Hebrew, my mitzvot, and obey them, I am Yahweh. The word for keep is the word shamar. There is a word that is a thorn, like a tree that has a thorn, is the word shamir. Shamir is basically a word that comes from the Hebrew, which means to keep, to guard. And I'm going to show you right now that the word shamar means to guard, to fence, to protect, to pay attention. In the ancients, when our forefathers, remember that our forefathers were shepherds. When they had their sheep out there in the wilderness, they needed to guard. That's one of the reasons why they carry a staff. But not only that, as a protection, but also they used this tree that it was used for actually the Torah talks about the wood that was the shemiah tree. Okay, the shia tree was the tree that they actually made the most of the furniture inside the tent of the meeting. And also we have to understand that this tree was the one that actually possessed the thorn. It is believed that this tree, that's where they got the thorn or the crown thorn for our Mashiach. See, do you see? It's all relative when it comes to these things in the scriptures. Now, let me show you real quick. The word for Shamir, let's go real quick. Genesis or Bereshit 24 drove out of the man and set to the east of the Garden of Eden, and the cherubim or the cherubim and the flaming whirling sword, and to guard Shamar the way to the tree of life. So now we get in the picture here that the word Shamar is to guard, to fence something. In this case was to guard, to protect, to fence the tree of life. What is it that the Creator is telling us through the Torah? Torah is basically, he's telling us the word Shamar is to protect, to guard, to fence something. Let me give you another example of that. Says to the sons of Israel, you observe my Shabbatot, my Shabbat. The word Shamar, for this is an oath, this is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh, who sets you apart from me. Yahweh says very clear that we need to guard, we need to fence, we need to protect this Shabbat, because it is a sign, it is an oath between Yahweh and us. It is crucial for us to realize how much treasure do we have. We have this Shabbat, this day, for us to protect, to preserve, to continue. It is a sign, this Shabbat, between the Yahweh and us, between the Creator and His people. And this is not something light that we need to take. It is something very special. It's a treasure for us, this Shabbat. The word Shamar, it is applied not only for Shabbat, but also for all the mitzvot of Yahweh Sebaot. And it's something that is happening today, the opposite of that. No wonder why there is kidnapping, which the Torah says very, talks about against it. And also talk about lying, about deceit, about cheating, about everything, about murdering, about everything that you can think of that is happening right now. Let me show you this. The word oath, right in the middle, is the word wow. This word, it is a word that is actually implied to all of us. The letter wow is number 6 on the gematria or gematria. Okay? This word Shamar is something we need to protect. Okay? Something we need to fence in our daily day lives. And let me give you an example. We need to put a fence between ourselves and the people. And the reason why we need to guard ourselves is because we don't want to be exposed to the people that wants to influence us with their evil, with their practices, with their traditions. The traditions of men are against what Yahweh has commanded. The traditions of men are vanity. The traditions of men are always yielding to idolatry, something that the Creator hates so much. So we need to make a shamir. We need to protect ourselves. We need to fence ourselves. Let me give you an example. This is a tree, the Shia tree, okay, which is what our forefathers live every single day. This is the thorn that this tree has, okay, and what the shepherds used to do, they used to guard, they used to put a fence of this tree for predators all around, like wolves and so forth, and because they needed to protect their fold, okay, their sheep. And that's one of the reasons why we also need to protect ourselves too. Book of Deuteronomy 29 verse 9, therefore keep, preserve, Shema, the words of my berit, my covenant, and obey them, so that they can make everything they can do to prosper. We always need to always remember the words of our Father. We need to obey them because there is a logical explanation for that. In the very beginning, we might not understand that, but as you go along, as you keep and do it, the light bulb will come out. You will understand the why. In the very beginning, it's kind of like really fussy. You can actually see the whole picture, but the more you do it, the more you will comprehend. An example, last week we talked about the linen. We talked about the wool, right? About the things that you ought to wear and not to mix, right? And there is a logical explanation for that, but we have to understand that in the proper manner. Okay? Now, Proverbs 11 verse 5, the tzedakah, the righteousness of the tamim, the upright will make the path straight, but the rasha, the evil, falls in his malice. What is it that is teaching us here? That the tzedakah, the righteousness of the Torah, of the tamim, the righteous person, the right person, or the just person, will make the path straight. Why? Why is it Torah talks about that? It's because if we keep at it in the path of Yahweh, and you don't yield to the left or the right, but you just keep going to the path, you will preserve the path. How do we preserve the path? How do we keep the path? By walking in it. Do you see that? If you don't walk in it, then you will yield. It's very simple. If you don't walk with it in that path, you will walk somewhere else. What's going to happen with the path? It's going to disappear. Grass will come out. Simple as that. We need to keep at it. We need to preserve it. And the way to preserve it is to walk in it. That's the Torah of every day. That's the Torah of the 365 days. That's the Torah of the 248, yielding to 613 mitzvot of Yahweh. Jeremiah 33:20. Here's what Yahweh says: if you can't stop to break my berit, my pact, my covenant with the day in my covenant with the night, so the night and day will come no more when they are supposed to. What is it that Yahweh speaks here? If somebody breaks this, which means to breaks the covenant of Yahweh, is to somebody to stomp on something, to basically not walk in the covenant of Yahweh, then Yahweh is going to do something. And that something is the opposite of what Yahweh has spoken to our forefathers, which is the blessing of our forefathers. Remember, they put in between the right is the life and death. The right and life and blessings, and the left is the death and cursings. It is for you to choose. Real quick, let's look into this verse. 24 verse 11, in the course on which the sons of Israel, of a wife of Israel, pronounced the name of Yahweh in a kalal, in a curse. So they brought it to Moshe. What happened to that boy, the son of a daughter of Israel? She married an Egyptian man. And that boy was a mix between an Israelite and an Egyptian. He pronounced the name of Yahweh in a curse. That doesn't mean, let me explain for that, that doesn't mean that Yahweh's pronunciation is a curse. No. He was making a curse. In that curse, he integrated the name of Yahweh. And that became a curse for that man. Yahweh would never, ever, ever have spoken to us that pronouncing or invoking his name is a curse. No, it's quite the opposite. Yahweh have said to us many times, commanded, by the way, in chapter 3, verse 15, and there's one of the verses of many, that Yahweh has commanded expressly to pronounce his name. The word for pronounce means the word sachar. Sachar means to invoke, to pronounce, to name. This is very crucial because contrary to the popular belief nowadays in the world, on the arena of the Messianic arena, and also on our Jewish brothers, the Jewish arena, that pronouncing the name of Yahweh is a no-no. You cannot pronounce the name of Yahweh. That's what they said. But Yahweh says otherwise. Yahweh says that his name is a blessing. If you want blessings, if you want to be healed, if you want to have health in your life and blessings to your kids, he said very clear to pronounce his name. He never spoke ever, ever, ever not to pronounce his name. Quite the opposite. Now, the word kalal is to take something lightly or insignificant or light. Blasphemy is the religious sense referred to the great lack of respect shown to Yahweh or to something kadosh, or something said or done that shows the kind of disrespect. Heresy refers to belief, an opinion that is not in accordance with the official belief or opinion of a particular belief. Now, those two are quite true. But, once again, blasphemy, it is when you disrespect someone. That was blasphemy. Okay? Blasphemy because you don't supposed to incorporate the name of Yahweh in your curse. That's what this secular world is doing nowadays. And that's what we supposed to keep the name of Yahweh Kadosh. Once again, pronouncing the name of Yahweh in the proper way, it is not forbidden. He never said that. For example, in Shabbat, we talk about the things of Yahweh. We pronounce the name of Yahweh in our tefillot, in our prayers. That's proper. That's doable. Yahweh never spoke against it. Quite the opposite. But when we speak with our friends or family that don't know anything about Torah, it is best if we just keep the name of Yahweh apart, separate, because they do not respect the name of Yahweh. Unless your friend, your family wants to learn about the Torah, then it's something else. It's a different story. Now, let's continue. Let's finish up with this. Chapter 21, verse 9 of Vayikra, the daughter of a Kohen who desecrates herself by prostitution, desecrates her father. She will be put to death by fire. Straight up. Here in this verse, we wonder what this verse is for. But we came to find out that what it was, it will be again. This happened before. This happened in the past. But let me put it in the proper matter. You have to understand that our forefathers knew Torah, knew the oral Torah. The oral Torah that was passed on from generation to generation. In the case of our forefathers, let me give you an example of that. Genesis, Bereshit 38, verse 1. It was at the time that Yehudah came out from among his brothers and settled near a man named Hirah, who was a Adulami. Now, Yehudah had a daughter-in-law named Tamar. Tamar married one of the sons of Yehudah. He had 3, and let me show you that. 38, verse 2. Therefore, there, Yehudah saw one of the daughters of certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and slept with her. Now, let me pause here for a moment, because Yahweh spoke to our forefathers, always inculcating them and always making sure and ensuring that the lineage was always the lineage of Shem. Shem is the lineage of the what is called the Semitic roots, okay? The Shemitic roots. That's where the Mashiach comes in. Now, here, he did not listen to the father, but instead, he went and married somebody from Canaan, something that the Creator said, don't do it. The name of this daughter, this woman, was Shuach. Shuach had 3 sons. That's Yehudah, that's Shuach. The first son was Er. The second was Onan. And the third was Shlach. Shlach was the last one. But we know that Er was the one who did something evil in the eyes of Yahweh by spilling his seed on the ground. Onan did the same. Both died by Yahweh. But look at what happens here. 28 verse 1 of Bereshit or Genesis. So Yitzhak called Yaakov, and after blessing him, he commanded him, you should not choose a wife from among the Hittite women. Who are the Hittite women? Are indeed Canaanites. Here, Yehudah actually did the opposite what Yaakov followed from his father, Yitzhak. Now, let's go back. Yehudah took a wife from Er, his firstborn, and his name was Tamar. Tamar was the one that apparently was a Canaanite, but that's not the case. Tamar, finally, Yehudah, the light bulb came out, and he actually took somebody from the lineage of Shem. Who was Shem? That was the question. Shem was Melchizedek, was a Kohen HaGadol, was a high priest. Melchizedek is basically or crucially a title. Shem had it, and it was passed on to him later. But the point here is that Shem had the title of Melchizedek. Let me show you. Book of Yasher 45:23. And in those days, Yehudah went to the house of Shem and took Tamar, the daughter of Elam, the son of Shem, as a wife for the firstborn Er. Now we understand who was Tamar. Tamar was the daughter of Elam, which she happens to be the granddaughter of Shem. Melchizedek, the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest. Targum Yonatan 38 verse 6. And Yehudah took a wife from Er, the firstborn, one of the granddaughters of Shem, the great, whose name was Tamar. You see that? Here we can see other sources. We can clearly see here that Tamar was the granddaughter of a high priest, Shem. Tamar did not have any seed, any sons, so she thought the only one who could give her a seed was the same lineage, which is Yehudah. Yehudah, Shua actually died, okay, and the 2 sons, Er and Elam, and the only one that's left was Shalach. So Yehudah, Tamar became impregnated by Yehudah, okay, and look at what happens after that without knowing. 38 verse 24 of Bereshit or Genesis. After 3 months, it was said to Yehudah, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has been acting like a harlot. Besides, she's pregnant as a result of her prostitution. Yehudah said, take her out and let her be burned alive. The question is why? Why Why does she have to be burned? Why can't they just stone her? That is the question, right? And the answer is because he knew that she was a daughter of a high priest. So the death penalty was to be burned alive. Let's continue. She knew that she has taken a token from him, which is the staff, the pendant, and the sealed. Targum Jonathan 38 verse 24, and it was in the time of 3 months, and then it was known that she was pregnant, and it was said to Yehudah, saying that Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has committed fornication, and behold, she is with the child for fornication. Yehudah said, is she not the daughter of a Kohen, of a high priest? Let them take her out and burn it. See that? Take her out and burn her, because she's the daughter of a high priest. He knew the Torah, and therefore he's about to execute it. And we see that she's about to be burned, but she knew that she had something to back it up. When she was taken out, she sent his message to her father-in-law, I am pregnant by the man whom these things belong. The word for examine it now is chakarna. Chakarna means examine it now. Whose sealed cord and scepter are? Then we know that the cord, staff, and the seal was his. The staff, the seal, and the cord was actually his. And we know that at the end of the story, we knew that the lineage had to be followed, that the lineage of Mashiach was kept intact. Yehudah became impregnated. She became impregnated by Yehudah, Tamar, which she is the lineage of Melchizedek Shem. Now we realize that this lineage was never lost, was never mixed or any other kind, but it was taken intact unto the moment that Mashiach was born. And that's what you see in Matthew chapter 1 and in Luke chapter 2. The lineage of Mashiach kept intact to the moment that he was born. This is something that we see always in the scriptures, something that we always, the Torah is always encoding into ourselves and revealing to these very last days. Let's continue with the Torah, always looking what the creators always want for us, and that's what is the life is all about, to trying to find out the creator's will for our last age, which is right now. If you haven't subscribed, please do so you can get the latest productions, which are coming soon. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. See you next time. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. We'll begin.